I can reach anywhere on my back. So what I'm doing on this side, what I'm doing on this side. So I'm literally rubbing my own back.
Your son sells tooth flicks? Actually, he invented them. I love these things. Yeah, they're really cool.
All right, so right now what I want to do is I want to cut up all the carpet padding for what we're going to be using it for later. And I need to granulate it, make it smaller in pieces. And it's got to be even smaller than this. So right now I'm going to be cutting for a little bit, then I'll show you how I tear it up and get it ready. I've got a nice hard Formica surface that I'm working on. I'm going to be rebuilding this table saw that I'm actually working on. This table saw is probably over 30 years old, and I've used it for a ton of things. It is such a beautiful day outside here in Sebring, Florida. My wife and I, we moved here about 4 months ago. We're so happy we moved here. So, take this, and I need to break it up into small pieces. They don't have to be exact as far as each piece, but they do need to have a general size to them. And so we're talking about a size like this. This is almost a perfect size, about the size of the end of my index finger. And just grab as many of these as you think you can tear at the same time. I once tore a phone book in half, one page at a time. It took me a long time, sort of like what this is taking right now. I don't know if I ever explained to you what tap mater's for. It's the ability to make a desired end result. So anything we're going to be doing here with tap mater, we're going to have the ability to achieve our goal. And so if you're a cook or a lawn care person, or you're landscaping, or you do remodeling or refinish furniture, this shirt's for you, because you have the ability to make a desired end result. And make is the key word. Had to plug my own t-shirt. All right, so now we're done breaking up our carpet padding into smaller pieces. And once again, this is going to be one that we're going to screw the top on rather than pop rivet it. The thicker the fabric that you use when putting the carpet pieces in, the better it will feel on you. It won't feel lumpy. It won't feel as lumpy because of the thickness of the fabric. Where I was shopping at the other day to get my fabric, they didn't have some of the stuff I really wanted, and I settled for something a little less thick, but it worked fine for our demonstration today. So it's going to take about a 3-gallon bucket of these to fill this. Everything else is a little bit more expensive. Of course, this takes just a little bit more prep time. So whatever you value the most, as far as is it your time or is it your money, that makes the difference in your life right now. So, and for me, it was both. If you stuff a bag too tight with these, you won't have enough room for it to settle to one side or the other. Everything just stays solid and hard all the time. You've got to leave a little space for your material inside the pad bag to actually move around. So if you want it to go to one end, you can have it go to one end or to another side. But If it's all packed solid, you wouldn't be able to do that. You know, if a person wanted to, you could take this and trim the entire piece out with this, and you have a nice metal finish edge, and then it would catch a pencil no matter which way you went. But I'm just going on with one side. I don't know if I need to repeat that side. I don't know if I needed to repeat that twice. I should probably start that whole line over, shouldn't I? Nah, you know what I mean. So let's get our glue on. Let me put my spacers on it, hold it up. There's our black one. And I do like how the padding goes to one side. If I wanted to have it lean on a certain way, like this one here, I can get it all to, well actually I'm gonna go this way. Now it leans like that real nicely. So I like this a lot. So my favorite stuffing is the carpet padding. It has the best potential. It's easy to work with, fast to work with. The others are just to see what happens. I love experimenting, and unless I try it, I don't know whether it really works or not. So let's see what these look like in a house under real use. Jeff Johnson with TapMater. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. At this time, we're going to try a new type of finish on the top of our pad bags. We're actually going to have a raw wood look, but it's going to have an epoxy coating on top of it, which makes it act like a dry erase board. And to get that project started, I'm going to be taking a raw piece of wood and I'm going to be varnishing it with 2 coats with a water-based varnish. And I want to give this 2 coats. One of the most aggravating things about doing epoxy is dealing with bubbles. So the better you seal your product, the less chance of having bubbles on it. Coat number 1. Right now we're going to put a resin coating on top of our wood. And I'm using Crystal Rock Creations. And we're going to put the hardener in first, and then we're going to do the resin after the hardener. We're going to mix for about 4 minutes. It's easier to get the hardener off the sides and bottom than it is the resin. So we're going to do about 8 ounces each and get started. And we want to stir for about 4 minutes, wiping the sides and the bottom regularly. The product is milky at first, and after about a minute of stirring, it starts to turn clear. Okay, I'm done mixing. I've been mixing for about 4 minutes, but I'm going to let it sit for about 18 minutes because we want the resin to reach a temperature of about 88 to 90 degrees. Right now it's at 76 degrees. And the reason for doing that, it makes it just a little bit thicker, and when I pour it out, it doesn't run as fast, and I don't have as much drippage over the sides of the edges. So it's a lot easier to work with if you let the temperature get up to about 88 degrees. All right, at this time, we're at 88 degrees. So I'm ready to pour. I'm using a regular tarp from any home box store or any hardware store. And the resin comes off of it just so easy. It just peels off just as easy as can be. So I have no problem using a tarp over and over and over for all my pours. So I'm pulling it out close to the edge, but without going over the edge at this time, to let the resin just self-level for a little bit. So I'm still not going to pull it over the edge after my first heating, or until after my first heating. And we do this to get rid of the bubbles, of course. And anytime you do heat it up, it makes it run a little bit more. So I just want to hold it back just a little bit until it gets just a little thicker. The warmer the product is before you start pouring, the less problems you're going to have with bubbles, or tiny little bubbles that you just can't get out. And that's why you want the material to get to room temperature, at least 75 degrees, before you start mixing. At this time we have all the resin spread out nice and evenly throughout, and I'm going to give it one last firing to get the bubbles out. We're going to let it set until it dries. It'll dry to the touch in about 4 or 5 hours. Tomorrow we'll be ready to mount it. All right, Jeff back here. We're going to sew our last pad bag. The others, we just gathered them in the corners as you saw, and we just put them together. But now I'm going to show you how I used to do them, and I actually consider it the better way of making a pad bag. It's a very simple sewing process. I've already laid out the board. It's equal distances from the sides already. And so we're just going to switch the cameras over just to the sewing part. How we pin it together, you'll also see it, or actually tape it together in this instance. So and don't forget to turn this inside out when you sew it, so it's the right side when you're finished sewing and have to turn it over. What we're actually doing is we're gathering here and here. We're bringing this point and this point together, and then we're putting a piece of tape there, and that's how we're making our corners. A 90 degree would be, just make this a 90 degree, so just straight across. And my lovely wife Lorraine. This kind of fabric is kind of fuzzy, and it's hard for the teeth to pull the fabric on through, so my wife is having to pull it through a little bit to get it to sew right. This is an Electra SX4000. My wife had it before me and her were married, and we are going on 40 years of marriage. This machine is what we used for the first go around of pad bags, which were called tabula bags at that time. And now I can't believe it. Almost 40 years later, we're doing it again with the same machine. All right, at this time we're going to cut off with our scissors all 4 corners, and then we'll place it over our board. I'll fork it off. All right, so go ahead and fit it over that. Okay, flip it over. All right, looks good. Now I'm going to hot melt glue it, and then we will put it together with our top. Okay, at this time we're going to start hot melt gluing our edges, our pieces. I make sure all the corners are together, that they're in the right locations. I'm going to just put a little dab in the center of each one for right now, just so this thing doesn't adjust on me and move anywhere. This is just to keep it in place while we put the stuffing and the other parts together. All right, that's it. That looks really good. Just fill the hole and pop rivet or top on. This is a very neat product. This is a tile trim, and I use it for a straight edge, and it keeps your fingers from being cut. Your knife doesn't slip over and cut your hand as easy as it would on a flat piece. And with the hose there, when you're pressing, you can actually feel whether your straight edge is moving on your product or not. So it actually helps you sense how sure your straight edge is on your product. I like cutting this foam a little bit better than the carpet padding. The carpet padding, I'd have to go through it 3 times to get through it, and I have a feeling it makes it a lot heavier. I had this piece of scrap foam around, and I thought I'd give it a try, and I like the fact that it cuts so much easier. So I'm going to mix this foam with the carpet padding foam. We are ready to start putting our final board on, our final pad bag. I have the stuffing all in there, and this time I'm going to do a countersink with the screws. had to drill through a little bit of metal there, but it turned out all right. This is I like this look. And even at this point, this resin's just 24 hours dry. I've not tried this before, so I'm just taking a chance. Except on cured. But, so this makes a nice office look. If you want something that's not white. In fact, you could do a whole wall, panel wall like this, and still use it as a dry erase board. In fact, all my tables in the shop are dry erase tables. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.